Let's start with a truth most people can't handle. Getting rich isn't complicated. That might sound insane, because we're trained to believe wealth is this grand puzzle, some labyrinth hidden away in libraries of dusty economics or locked behind the steel gates of billionaire circles. But wealth, at its core, is brutally simple. The reason most never touch it is not because it's impossible, but because the brutal part terrifies them. See, people want wealth to feel gentle. They want the game to be polite, predictable, and fair. They want to put in a little effort, complain a lot, and somehow be rewarded with abundance. But that's fantasy. That's the bedtime story society tells you, so you don't question why you're stuck while others rise. Machiavelli, the ruthless observer of human nature, understood this centuries ago. He knew money and power flow toward those who strip away illusions and see the world not as they wish it to be, but as it island. The slogans you've been fed? Work hard and good things happen. Dream big and you'll succeed. They sound noble, but they're mental handcuffs. They keep you docile, obedient, safe. They train you to stay predictable. And predictability is poverty. Look at the average day of the average person. Wake up, scroll, commute, grind, complain, collapse, repeat. It's routine, and routine feels comfortable. But comfort is the silent killer of ambition. Comfort is how you're trained to accept less. And here's the brutal reality. Comfort also makes you easy to control. Ask yourself, does the system want you wealthy? No. The system thrives on you being predictable, taxable, manageable. And you play along, hoping your boss will notice your sacrifice, hoping life will be fair, hoping kindness alone will lead to abundance. But hope is a terrible strategy. The person who owns the system takes the wealth. The person who operates within the system survives on crumbs. That's why I say, wealth is simple. It's not luck. It's not even genius. It's courage. Courage to refuse the rules designed to keep you small. Because the rules of poverty and the rules of wealth are not the same. The poor are told, work, save, pray. The rich follow, own, control, multiply. Let's play it out with an example. Two people. One clocks into a 9-to-5, saves scraps each month, hoping to one day breathe easy. The other builds a business, invests in skills, and learns how to sell. A decade passes. The first has fatigue, maybe a retirement account, but not freedom. The second has assets, cash flow, options. Same years, same hours, different rules, different game. Why does this happen? Psychology. Most people fear loss more than they crave gain. Behavioral economists call this loss aversion. It's why someone clings to a job they hate instead of building something uncertain. It's why they trade their entire life for security, a concept more fragile than they realize. Because here's the paradox. The so-called safe path is actually the most dangerous. Jobs evaporate, economies crash, inflation quietly steals your savings. Stability is the greatest illusion of all. Machiavelli would laugh at our obsession with safety. He knew the timid inherit nothing. Power, and by extension wealth, belongs to those willing to embrace discomfort. If you want freedom, you must rewire your questions. Stop asking, what's safe? And start asking, what gives me control? Stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? But here's the twist. Even when people know this, they stay broke. Why? Because they confuse movement with progress. They work hard, yes. They hustle, yes. But they hustle in the wrong direction. They pour energy into jobs with ceilings, into habits that sedate them, into relationships that drain them. Then they wonder why life feels stuck. Wealth isn't complicated, it follows a straight line. Learn how money moves. Position yourself where it flows. Capture more than you expend until you control it. Guard it. Multiply it. That's the formula. Brutally simple. The obstacle isn't complexity. It's the discipline and resilience to follow through. Picture money as a river. Most people stand on the shore, praying for a splash. The rich engineer channels, pipelines, reservoirs, systems that redirect the flow directly to them. Same river, same water, but one group waits, while the other owns. Here's where psychology deepens. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are motivated by two primal forces, fear and desire. The wealthy weaponize both. They make you fear missing out. They make you desire what they control. They don't just sell objects, they sell identities. Luxury brands aren't fabric, they're fantasies. Influencers aren't pushing products, they're bottling belonging. When you think of wealth, don't imagine piles of bills. Imagine mastery of desire. Whoever dictates what others crave, rules." But the brutality doesn't end at building wealth. It multiplies when you try to keep it. Because once you rise, you will trigger envy. People will whisper, accuse, hate. They'll say you're greedy, lucky, or corrupt. That's the tax of breaking the script. And Machiavelli warned of this too. If you chase power, you must prepare for enemies. Wealth is no different. Freedom requires not only ambition, but armor. So the real question is this: are you ready? Ready to surrender comfort for control? To stomach fear, ridicule, even betrayal, and keep moving forward? Because if you are, the gates of wealth are open. They've always been open. The only difference is, most people never step through. The poor dwell in illusion. The rich dwell in reality. And reality, though harsh, is shockingly simple. Why do most people never step through the gates of wealth, even when they sense the truth? It's not because they're stupid. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's because they've been trained since childhood to obey a script that shrinks their imagination. Think about your earliest years. What were you taught? Follow the rules. Sit still. Raise your hand. Don't question authority. Memorize and regurgitate. Get good grades, then find a safe job. That script is not designed for prosperity. It's designed for predictability. Schools don't teach you how money actually works. They don't show you how to build a business, how to sell, how to invest, how to negotiate. They don't reward creativity, leverage, or risk. They reward conformity. They groom you to be an employee, quiet, reliable, replaceable. That's not preparation for wealth. That's preparation for servitude. Machiavelli would smirk here, because he understood systems are never neutral. They serve those at the top, the elites, the rulers, the owners, and they don't want competitors. They want compliant workers convinced that weekends off and 2 weeks of vacation equal freedom. They want you dreaming about buying a ticket on a plane while they own the airline. They want you saving up for a hotel stay while they collect rent from every room. So when I say wealth is brutally simple, I don't mean easy. I mean the hardest part isn't learning new strategies. It's unlearning the conditioning burned into you since childhood. Imagine this. One man wakes up at 6 a.m. every day, drives the same commute, sits in the same cubicle, performs the same tasks, year after year, decade after decade. He retires exhausted, with a pension barely enough to survive. He played his role exactly as written. Did he ever truly have a chance? Of course not. He was trained to trade his life for scraps. Now, picture another man. Same starting point, same world. But he questions the script. He asks why he should depend on one paycheck. He studies markets, learns sales, maybe builds a side hustle. At first it's small, maybe laughably small, but he reinvests. He grows. A decade later, he owns assets, influence, and freedom. He didn't accept the script. He rewrote it. The difference isn't luck. It isn't genius. It's a willingness to endure discomfort. And here's where psychology cuts deep. People avoid discomfort at all costs. Our brains are wired that way. Neuroscientists call it the homeostatic drive. We're designed to resist change, to cling to the familiar, to reduce uncertainty. That instinct kept our ancestors alive, but today it keeps us broke. Comfort is warm. Comfort is safe. Comfort is also a cage. Machiavelli warned, men forget danger when times are good, but danger never forgets them. That's the trap. We confuse stability with safety, but safety is fleeting. Layoffs happen overnight. Economies collapse in months. Comfort is a mirage, and when people finally see it, it's too late. To build wealth, you must embrace discomfort like an ally. You must take risks that knot your stomach, face doubts that haunt your nights, endure ridicule from people too afraid to try themselves. That's the brutal price of freedom. And here's the kicker. The wealthy aren't necessarily smarter than you. They're not superhuman. They've simply learned to view the game differently. The average person sees money as a reward for labor. The wealthy see money as a tool for leverage. The average person sees risk as danger. The wealthy see risk as possibility. The average person sees others as peers. The wealthy see others as resources, partners, competitors, customers, allies, or threats. This shift in perception changes everything. Let's dissect an example. Two friends each earn $3,000 a month. Friend A spends $2,500, saves $500 in a bank account. After a year, he has $6,000. Sounds responsible, right? But inflation erodes its power daily. His money shrinks as he saves. Friend B chooses differently. He spends $2,000, invests $1,000 in skill building or a small business. At the end of the year, he may not have much savings, but his skill now generates $5,000, $10,000, maybe $20,000 a month. A decade later, friend A has the illusion of stability, while friend B has the reality of freedom. That's the brutal simplicity. Your choices today decide whether you're free or trapped tomorrow. And beneath those choices lies something darker. Most people don't actually want freedom. They say they do, but freedom demands responsibility, and responsibility terrifies them. What most crave isn't freedom, it's security. They want a boss, a government, a system to guarantee survival. But those who hunger for wealth must accept absolute responsibility. No excuses, no waiting for permission, no blaming the system, even if the system is rigged. You either build your own fortress or you remain a servant inside someone else's. This is why Machiavelli insisted rulers must project strength, even when vulnerable, because appearances shape power. In wealth, the same principle applies. Confidence magnetizes opportunity. Desperation repels it. When people see you as someone in control, doors open. When they sense you're begging, they shut. So, where does the journey begin? Not with money, with skill. Skills are weapons in the wealth game. Selling, writing, coding, designing, negotiating, public speaking, each one is a blade you can sharpen. Without skill, you are unarmed. With skill, you are dangerous. But skills alone aren't enough. You need leverage. A job is low leverage. 1 hour equals 1 wage. You're capped. A business, an online channel, an investment that's high leverage. One product, one video, one idea can reach thousands, millions. Leverage means your output multiplies beyond your direct input. This is why the rich chase leverage instead of raises. They don't think, how can I make $30 an hour? They think, how can I create something once that pays me for life? That mindset is the doorway to freedom. But here's where courage re-enters. Leverage demands risk. Build a business, you might fail. Launch a product, it might flop. Put money into an investment, you could lose it. Most people can't stomach that pain. So, they stay in the safety of predictability. And that safety becomes their prison. The few who endure the bruises, the ridicule, the setbacks, those are the ones who break free. So, stitch it all together. Wealth is simple because it is a different game. The rules are not hidden. They are visible, right in front of you. Build skills, seek leverage, own assets, control flows, protect and multiply. The difference is, only a handful dare to actually play. And the question that keeps circling back is this: will you? Because if you don't, you remain trapped in the script. Work, pay, complain, repeat. But if you do, if you embrace discomfort, if you see reality clearly, you enter the small circle of those who own, control, and multiply. That is the circle Machiavelli would salute. The circle of those who accept brutality, embrace risk, and seize power. Now let's move from philosophy to battlefield tactics. Because wealth isn't just a mindset, it's a war. not with guns or tanks, but with ideas, attention, and influence. And just like in war, hesitation gets you crushed. Machiavelli knew this when he said fortune favors the bold, but only when the bold are prepared. If you wander into the wealth game blind, you're prey. But if you enter armed with strategy, leverage, and discipline, you dominate. So what are the tactics? Tactic 1. Own something. Don't just work for something, own it. This is the brutal divide between rich and poor. The poor trade time for money. The rich trade ownership for money. Time is capped. Ownership is infinite. You can grind 16 hours a day and still hit a ceiling, because there are only so many hours in a year. But when you own a business, a product, a piece of equity, your wealth scales beyond your time. Bezos didn't become Bezos by clocking in. He became Bezos because he owned Amazon. Millions worked for him. Billions bought from him. His wealth was multiplied by ownership, not hours. You don't have to build Amazon, but you do have to own something. A business, a brand, an asset, intellectual property, land, systems. Ownership is the line between surviving and compounding. Tactic 2. Exploit desire. People like to believe they're rational. They're not. Neuroscience shows nearly every decision is driven by emotion first, logic second. We buy to feel respected, admired, attractive, powerful. The rich understand this and wield it. They don't sell products, they sell status. They don't sell items, they sell identity. Look at luxury brands. A $500 shirt and a $5 shirt might roll off the same production line, but one carries the illusion of prestige. People pay for the story, not the fabric. Machiavelli was blunt. Men are ruled by fear and desire. To build wealth, master both. Create fear of missing out. Create irresistible desire for what only you provide. Whoever controls desire controls money. Tactic 3. Build systems. A job pays you once. A system pays you forever. Systems can take many forms. An online business, a rental property, an automated sales funnel, even a YouTube channel. Once built, they keep working with little effort. Think of it this way. A worker must clock in every day to survive. A YouTuber uploads once, and that video can generate income for years. Same effort, different leverage. The poor think in tasks. The wealthy think in systems. Tactic 4. Protect and multiply. Earning money is the first step. Keeping it is the second. Multiplying it is the final test. The poor spend what they earn. The middle class saves what they earn. The rich invest what they earn. Imagine every dollar as a soldier. The poor send their soldiers to the mall. The rich send theirs into battlefields, real estate, stocks, businesses where they return with reinforcements. This is why the rich get richer. They don't let soldiers sit idle. They command them. Tactic 5. Appear strong, even when you're not. Machiavelli insisted that appearances matter more than reality. When it comes to wealth, perception is power. If people perceive you as successful, opportunities open, doors unlock. Think about influencers flaunting cars and watches online. Many don't own them, but appearances attract attention, and attention attracts money. Machiavelli was right. People judge with their eyes, not their minds. Learn to control perception, and you control opportunity. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people hear these tactics, nod along, and then do nothing. They whisper, "It's too risky. It's not for me." In that moment, they surrender the game to someone else. If you're still listening, you're not like most people. Something inside you is restless. You sense there's more to life than waiting for Friday, than calculating sick days, than being another cog in someone else's empire. But making money is only half the battle. Keeping it and keeping your soul intact while holding it, that's where most fail. Wealth will test you in ways poverty never does. It attracts envy. It attracts leeches. It attracts predators who smile at you while sharpening knives. If you're not ready, wealth will devour you. Machiavelli warned rulers about betrayal, about conspiracies, about envy lurking in their courts. The same psychology applies to money. A sudden inheritance, a fast fortune, even a lucky business win if you're naive, It will vanish. Friends who suddenly need help. Family members who remember you only when you have something to offer. Business partners who turn greedy. That's why the wealthy guard their money like a fortress. They use contracts, lawyers, accountants, and legal structures as shields. They build walls because weakness invites attack. But the greatest threat isn't outsiders, it's yourself. Wealth will tempt you to sabotage your own progress. The moment you taste money, you'll want to spend recklessly, to flaunt, to prove yourself, to silence the doubters. That's why so many go broke after a windfall. They confuse appearing rich with staying rich. True wealth isn't about status symbols, it's about control. The disciplined use money strategically, not emotionally. They buy assets, not toys. They invest in freedom, not in validation. That's why their wealth endures. So what's the end game? Why go through this brutal process of risk, rejection, discipline, and protection? The answer is one word: freedom. Not the illusion of freedom, the real thing. No boss, no alarm clock, no begging for permission to live your life. The ability to decide how to spend your days, where to travel, what to create. Wealth isn't about chains of gold, it's about breaking chains entirely. That's why Machiavelli's wisdom still resonates. Because power and wealth are the same pursuit, control, and the path to both is brutally simple. See reality, reject the script, build skills, embrace risk, own assets, multiply them, protect them, project strength, and never retreat to comfort. Most people will ignore this and stay predictable. A few will listen and transform. The only question left is, which one are you? By now, you've seen the illusion stripped away. You know wealth isn't a secret code or a lottery ticket, it's a game of skill, leverage, and psychology. But here's the last and most brutal truth. Knowing is worthless without acting. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is like a river. It floods, destroys, reshapes the land. But those who prepare can harness it, channel it, even redirect its power. Opportunities for wealth are the same. They surge, they vanish, they overwhelm the idle. Only those who act capture them. So, what does action look like? Step 1. Master one skill. Not 10, not 21. Scatter your focus across too many things, and you stay mediocre at all. Pick one high-value skill: sales, persuasion, writing, coding, design, trading, marketing, speaking. Sharpen it daily. A dull blade is useless. A master blade cuts through resistance. And mastery creates confidence, which magnetizes money. Step 2. Stop thinking like a worker. If you want wealth, you must stop asking, how much will I earn per hour? And start asking, what can I create that earns me forever? Workers trade time for survival. Owners trade ideas, assets, and systems for freedom. This mental pivot alone separates those who remain in the cage from those who break free. Step 3. Build leverage. You cannot get rich by yourself. You need tools, people, platforms, capital. If you write, publish online to reach millions. If you sell, build teams that multiply your reach. If you invest, let compounding do the heavy lifting while you sleep. Leverage is the engine of wealth. Without it, you're pushing a broken cart uphill. Step 4. Embrace brutality. This is the part most refuse. Getting rich will hurt. It will test your resilience, your courage, your patience. People will mock you. Friends may drift away. Family might not understand. Society will resist because you are breaking its script. But discomfort is the tuition you pay for freedom. Step 5. Protect your fortress. Once you begin building wealth, defend it. Expect betrayal. Expect envy. Use contracts, legal shields, and strict boundaries. Machiavelli warned rulers that conspiracies breed in envy. The same applies today. Your success will attract scavengers. Guard your resources with discipline, or they'll vanish faster than you built them. And let's talk psychology, because the most dangerous enemy isn't outside, it's within. The newly rich often implode because they mistake money for identity. They buy toys to announce they've made it. They chase status instead of control. And soon, they're back at zero. True wealth is not measured in cars or watches. It's measured in autonomy. If you control your time, your choices, your future, you are rich. If you depend on a paycheck, even a large one, you are poor. That's why legacy matters. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must think not just of today, but of generations ahead. Wealth without continuity is just consumption. Real wealth is planting trees under whose shade your grandchildren will sit. It's assets that outlive you, a name that carries weight long after you're gone. But here's the harsh reality. Most won't do this. They'll listen, nod, maybe even feel inspired, and then return to scrolling, to routines, to comfort. And that is why wealth will always be rare. Not because it's complex, but because it requires endurance, courage, and sacrifice. So ask yourself one final time, which side will you be on? The predictable masses, repeating the cycle, work, pay, complain, repeat, or the rare few who question the script, embrace risk, wield skill, and build something that cannot be taken. Imagine what happens if you commit. Imagine waking up free, no boss, no alarm, no begging for days off. Imagine walking into a store and buying without fear, not because you're reckless, but because you can. Imagine traveling where you want, when you want, because time is yours. Imagine knowing your children and their children will inherit not just money, but freedom. That is the real reward. That is wealth. And the road is brutally simple. Learn, build, own, protect, multiply, repeat. Machiavelli was right. Most people are blind, emotional, and easy to control. But if you master yourself, your fears, your desires, you can master not just money, but destiny. So here's the call to action. Don't wait. Don't postpone until tomorrow. Don't dilute this with excuses. Start now. Pick a skill. Study money. Build something, even if small. Every empire began with a single brick. Every fortune began with one risk. Because the world doesn't reward the dreamer, it rewards the doer. And let this final line burn into your memory. Getting rich is not complicated. It is brutally simple. The only question is, are you willing to face the brutal part?